I'd like to call the meeting of the Internal Services and Government Oversight Committees to order. Our first act is to have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda for
Romano
today.
adopts the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano made the motion. Commissioner Hawes seconded it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Next is public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item on today's agenda. The second opportunity for public participation later in the meeting is for any other subjects.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Mike Salyers, and I'm on the Veterans Service Committee. And I was picking up Pat Daniels right before to bring him here, and the normal Pat, a guy pulls up and says, "Pat, I need a ride to 13 and Woodward." And Pat goes, "Send my regards. We want to keep Joel." So I'm here for him and our Vice Chair, Therese Robel. We want to keep Joel. So, and thank you very much. Oh, address 14206 Lacovere Drive, Sterling Heights, Michigan, 48313. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else for public participation?
Good afternoon. My name is Leon Drolet, 46116 Lookout Drive, Macomb Township, Michigan. I'm here to speak about the smart millage that's being proposed to be placed on the ballot. As I've spoken on the issue before, and it's of course back on the agenda, I think what we've missed is an opportunity here in the county to allow municipalities to have the option to opt out like they have in our surrounding communities in Wayne County and Oakland County. I think that would have been a more stable arrangement for SMART, because it would have given a lot more individual control by our individual municipalities. For example, in Macomb Township that I represent, according to Jeff White, the director of our shuttle bus service that's operated through SMART, the Lennox-Richmond shuttle service, they provided 6,000 individual rides to Macomb Township residents the year before the pandemic year, so we're not going to count the last 2 years. Those 6,000 rides to our residents were needed and helpful. However, if you look at the amount of money that our community sends to SMART a year in tax dollars, it's about $3.2 million. And then you look at the $300,000 that we contribute in addition to that using our municipal credits and community credits we get from the state in order to get that shuttle service, it's about $3.5 million. You do the math on that, and it ends up being $588.33 a ride. So at $588.33 a ride, SMART doesn't make sense for Macomb Township. And I know that there are people who need help. There are people who need help getting around. This is just not an efficient system. And that is why mass transit usage across the country in 30 of 33 major markets that have mass transit has declined continuously since 2014. It's a technology, it's a type of service that is increasingly less and less used. We could find a better way to service those individuals that need transit help. And we should find a better way. I think we owe it to taxpayers to find a better way than paying $588.33 a ride. So I would hope that the only option at this point, because it's too late now, obviously before November, to form an authority, which would be required in order to allow communities to opt out, is if this was not put on the ballot, I guess it would have to be a scramble for those communities that do want to continue with the SMART service to individually put it on their ballots locally and contract with SMART, which would be, I think, a better idea and long-term more stable for SMART than asking people in communities that are lesser served to make those kind of commitments per ride, to make those kind of tax dollar payments per ride. So I would hope that our members here would consider voting no. Thank you very much.
Good
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Pulowski, and I'm from Southgate, Wayne County, but I do travel between Macomb County for work and also personal business. I'm here on behalf of the Resolution 9A regarding the Macomb County Public Transit for the November 8th ballot. I'm coming in here for support today. What we've done over the past several years is bring jobs to Macomb County, bring more economic development. You know, along Gratiot, we've seen a major change with businesses and especially jobs. Macomb Mall has changed to the point where we have seen dozens of people coming up here for work and leaving the city of Detroit. We're the ones that need that transportation, not just our business owners, not just our people that travel to and from work in the city of Detroit off a park and ride, but also come from the city of Detroit to work in Macomb County. We need transit in this city. We need transit in this county. We've done so much. SMART has changed on their technology aspect, getting more buses on the road, changing their fleet, making it to where it's geared to the rider. With Smart Flex going from Metro Park to 15 Mile. We've seen a major change there. We're not just bringing in tourists, we're also bringing in people that want to get outside more. People that have not got outside and want to experience transit. We've done a lot of changes after the 2018 election. And SMART's living up to that name, and they have my full support every step of the way for what change they do. We are the change of Macomb County. If we keep transit here, the more jobs we bring and the more economic development goes to this county. Let's keep SMART on the ballot and vote yes for November 8th, SMART 2022. Thank you.
Anyone else for public participation on items on today's agenda?
Hello, everyone. Got caught in a little traffic on the way up here, but I'm glad I was able to join you. My name is Megan Owens, and I run a regional nonprofit organization called Transportation Riders United, and I want to speak in support of the resolution to put SMART public transit funding on the ballot in November for a 5-year millage. My team and I have been talking to folks all across the county about transit issues and trying to get a sense to both provide some education to people about some of the services that are available and some of the changes that have been made, as well as to hear from people about their ideas and concerns and suggestions. We've made presentations and spoken with both the Macomb and the Sterling Heights Chamber. We spoke with folks at the Leadership Breakfast up in Utica. We've also been out to fairs and festivals and civic clubs and coffee shops to talk with people. And what we're hearing is a lot of interest. A lot of people aren't necessarily hugely familiar with some of the changes that SMART has made in recent years, and many people are quite interested to find out about some of those services. But I know a number of people have reached out to you to voice their support over email and such, but a number of people asked me to share their comments because they couldn't make it here today. There's a blind gentleman in St. Clair Shores who really wanted to share that SMART is his lifeline. He is able to go to work, go to church, be active in his community because that service is available. I also talked to someone in Sterling Heights who said he mostly drives, but for about 2 weeks his car broke down and he couldn't afford a rental. And even though it wasn't the fastest trip ever, he was telling me about he had to transfer and it was a little headache. He was able to continue to get to his job each day during those 2+ weeks while his car was being fixed, and he really appreciated having that. So yes, I appreciate both the opportunity to speak here and urge you to support putting SMART on the ballot to allow the voters to decide if this is something they want to continue to invest in. And I really do support the 5-year proposal.
15 seconds.
Okay. To both allow for some longer planning, longer-term planning, and to ensure that if in the future the voters do decide to stop supporting it, there wouldn't be an immediate drop-off of service. There would be time for a transition. Thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else public participation on today's agenda?
Good day. Don Martindale on the Veteran Services. I've been on the commission for 2 years now, and I'm here in support of Joel Rutherford as a candidate, not as a candidate, he's being reappointed if you reappoint him. I'd like to tell you that he has done a great job since he's been on, and we haven't had no problems with him or any of the other people. So we had problems with others, we know that, and that didn't go well. He's a fine candidate, and I hope you all will reappoint him. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie McFarland. I'm an Oakland County resident visiting Macomb County on this rainy day today. First, on behalf of the Detroit Institute of Arts, I never want to miss the opportunity to thank the residents of Macomb County and the Board of Commissioners for the incredible support that you show the museum. I also appreciate the thoughtful consideration that is given to selecting appointees to the Macomb County Art Institute Authority. I know this is in advance of the agenda, so in advance of that agenda item, I just say, we welcome the new appointees and we look forward to working with the expanded Art Institute Authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Anyone else? Public participation on items on today's agenda. Last call. Thank you. We'll close public participation and move on to item 5A. I'd like a motion to move 5A and B to the full board. Thank you. Who was support? Motion by 17, support Wallace. Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sabatini, support by Commissioner Wallace. Is somebody speaking to this, Lynn?
Good afternoon. This item pertains to obtaining professional design services relative to floor plan modifications at COMTEC and the Department of Roads. This modification takes advantage of a remote work environment, allowing for a reallocation of square footage to departments and or departmental functions that actually need additional square footage to make their services more efficient. The design services requested are the design development and construction document phase. In this phase, it involves meeting with the users in order to ascertain the needs, the goals, and the schedule of the users. They also would develop preliminary floor plans in order to ascertain that they have met the intent of the users. They would also develop preliminary mechanical and electrical drawings for review. And they would also coordinate with the county's IT infrastructure designer and coordinate that change. Once they have these preliminary drawings, they would be reviewed. Upon approval, the design team would then develop construction documents, and these are detailed drawings and bid specifications. This would enable the purchasing department to obtain sealed bids on the Mitten site. Essentially, this project involves a reallocation of the Department of Roads permit section to the front main entrance area. Right now, the permits area is towards the back of the building, so this would improve and make easy access for the public. It would also create more of a secure environment. Also, we would be reconfiguring the space that the permits section would be vacating, and that would correspond to the department's needs. We would also be relocating the mailroom off the main entrance hallway, making it easier for delivery and dropping off of the mail. And then they would also be reconfiguring the main reception desk. Currently, the reception or the main entry has a lot of wasted space, so that it would be better utilized. They would also remove and replace main entry finishes. Also, there would be a reduction in the space allocated to IT, and this is where we're taking advantage of a remote working environment. So instead of having office space that might sit vacant many days a week or many hours in a day, it would be shared office space or workspace in that environment. And then that way we can reallocate space to the sheriff's dispatch area. They would also perform some minor reconfigurations for IT on the second floor of the building. We are therefore requesting authorization for a budget amendment in the amount of $68,800 be transferred from the general fund to the capital improvement fund for design development and construction document phase. And this would be those phases only. And this service is recommended to be performed by Partners in Architecture. And just to clarify, the bidding phase and the construction administration phase would be reflected in the upcoming capital plan and scheduled for 2023.
Thank you. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. Lynn, this all sounds very logical, and it sounds like it's needed. And I would be all for this, but I know that the citizens are going to be mad because they're already mad about spending. And it's only $68,000, which to us, you know, we go through all kinds of money up here. All of your stuff is very explanatory, but I'm going to have to say no because I have people calling me. And when the people read this in the paper, they're not going to understand what's being done necessarily. They're going to say, the county's building something else again. And it's logical, but I hate to say no to you because I adore you and you're so good at your job. But that's what I'm going to have to do for the citizens that I get calls from and emails from. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. The bid process, is IT going to move out of that building?
No, they won't be moving out of that building, but we're reconfiguring the square footage allocation. So they'll continue to have people working remotely. And instead of having areas sit vacant because there's a remote working, we can reconfigure the space and allocate that space to areas that really need an increase in square footage.
Maybe this question for Vicki.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Vicki. We just had Armada Township come on and join into COMTEC. There may be other units that are trying to entertain joining our communication center. And isn't this the primary reason we need more space to accommodate the future growth and expansion of our facility to take on more partners and have our county be more efficient in terms of the COMTEC and its operation?
Yes, it's very directly tied to that, and even currently, before some of the expansion that's taken place since we first moved into COMTEC. For instance, there's a GIS person that supports dispatch. That person has not been located within dispatch. They've been in the roads side of the building this entire time. So that GIS person will now be able to move into dispatch with dispatch administration. The board graciously approved as part of the budget process 5 new supervisor positions as part of this budget. That is to accommodate that space as well. So with expanding supervision, moving the GIS person in, As we talked about in the proposal when we asked for the 911 surcharge fee, we talked about additional IT personnel that are needed to support dispatch operations. Our goal is to come back as part of this year's budget process, ask for the IT position or positions, and this space would accommodate those people as well. So a lot of this right now is for that supervisory staff that has been needed as COMTEC grows, and some of it has been needed all along. There's 2 small administrative offices in COMTEC now that I'll have to say are very tiny and are actually have been shared over the course of time over 2 people in each of those offices, and sometimes personnel have to sit on the floor, which can be warranted, but this will allow for that shifting of those people in some of the expansion.
How old's COMTEC?
COMTEC itself, we moved in there in December of 2013.
Okay. What about the equipment that's in there, the screens and technology? Will some of that be upgraded as part of this expansion or build out? Or we're not really building out, we're remodeling the internal structure.
Correct, yes.
We're not building something new, we're remodeling internally inside the building.
No,
right? Correct,
exactly. And all of this is really office administrative space for staff that we're talking about at this point in time. And as Lynn explained, with remote work, IT had some space that we're able to take advantage of and be able to give the needed space to the dispatch staff for that. But yeah, right now this is just administrative space that we're talking about and changes.
Are there plans in this year's or next year's budget for equipment enhancements or technology enhancements, like the screen or something like that over there that needs to be upgraded?
I don't know if they're coming up on the 2023 budget, Jaco. Dispatch the COMTEC with the video wall and stuff, maintenance.
That is currently on the 23 budget.
Okay, so it is part of that, yes. So we have plans for that and to keep those upgrades going forward.
So it's kind of an old. It's not old, but it's weathered a bit. So we're opening up the place and making it more friendly because we're using it.
Correct.
I mean, I'm often over there for meetings at COMTEC for a variety of things. Lynn, Partners in Architecture, were they the ones who designed the building the first time?
Yes, that's correct.
So it makes sense that we're using them again
Yes.
on this phase, so they've got institutional knowledge of the facility.
Yes, absolutely.
Of course, we don't have to go out for bids for that because it's a professional service, but it makes sense that we're using them
Yes.
for this project, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair. The first question is, we haven't, I know we haven't gone out to bids, we're very early on, but I didn't see in the paperwork an estimate of the entire project.
Right now, we're looking at a budget of about $1.4 million.
Okay. And I know that this says that it will be contained in the 2023 capital budget. Was it in the 5-year projected for 2023 last year?
No, it was not.
It's an addition. Okay. All right. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Matusik.
Sorry to interrupt. Just because you were asking about the funding too, it should be noticed with the 1.4 million estimated cost, there is funding that will we're planning on coming in from dispatch funding for their areas as well as from the road department, approximately half at this time. So the rest will then be county general funds, but then half covered by those 2 agencies. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. More a general thought than a specific question about this project. Clearly the nature of work seems to be changing. There's more remote.
That's correct.
We do a lot more, I've noticed, with our budgets with part-time people We have the ability to share some offices, to share some spaces. I think that that's really good that we're taking that into account in this particular building. I would hope that we take that into account for all the building and remodeling projects we do so that the space becomes more efficient and more flexible, and we save a lot more money
Yes.
without having to build new buildings all the
Yes,
time.
absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Haw.
Thank you, Chair. I believe most, if not all of us, have been through the COMTEC facility. Well-run, well-managed, do a great job over there, Vicki. It's just not looking at future growth. It's the cramped quarters they're in now. People are stacked up on top of each other, and I don't know how much in the future we're going to be using off-site or electronic capabilities for that facility, but that is the hub for many communities in Macomb County to be able to provide dispatch services. So I know we're looking at an architectural plan, and that's what you're asking for, Lynn, but we're also talking about the future of COMTEC. So thank you for what you've done. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Zong.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering if the 911 surcharge, if any of that funding could go towards this study.
I don't deal with the 911.
Is there anyone that can answer? Vicki? Thank you.
Yes, that's the money I referenced that will be coming from
Okay.
the sheriff's office. They actually have that funding now when we talked about somewhat current plans. And even though we do have a fund balance in there now, this was one of those projects that we knew we were working on at the time that if it went through, we would need some of that funding
Okay.
for. So yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
As far as people working off-site, would that be the IT people working off-site, but the people in the call center all have to be on-site because of the equipment and everything?
It's more IT working off-site. There's certain categories of work in IT that can be done very efficiently remotely.
Yeah, I didn't want people to think that the call center people were going to be off-site.
No.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0. Commissioners in are voting no.
Thank
12
you.
to 1, I apologize.
Moving on to 5C, agreement with Creative Breakthroughs Incorporated for Crowdstrike Endpoint Protection Enterprise for $101,375. Our IT Director, Jaco.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Hawes makes a motion. Commissioner Romano seconds to move to full board. Thank you.
Good afternoon. The Crowdstrike is our endpoint protection, antivirus, anti-malware, and so forth that we use in the county. And this is the maintenance that we pay annually.
No speakers. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. 5D, an agreement with M&J Technologies for Freshworks Helpdesk system for $75,925. IT Director Jaco.
Motion move to full board.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano made the motion, supported by Commissioner Wallace, to move to full board. Thank you.
Commissioners, this is another maintenance item. It is the ticketing system called Freshworks Helpdesk system that we use in IT to manage our tickets. And as I said, this is the annual maintenance.
No speakers again. Oh, Commissioner Zahn.
Thank you. Jaco, this is the Fresh Service
That's correct.
yearly maintenance renewal. And it says that this has to be renewed or they're going to deactivate it. So
Yeah.
how come this didn't come to us sooner? Or
were
you not aware of it until recently?
Yeah. The reason it didn't come to you sooner is the way we do this is the companies submit either a quote or an invoice to us, and we pay the maintenance. This is the second year that we are doing business with this company, and they send it through M&J, which is the company that we pay. That's how it was originally done. M&J didn't pass it on to us. And, you know, so we never got the information, and that's how we ended up in this situation. So it was something we needed to get on the agenda as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. I'd like to take 5E and F together. Budget amendment, capital improvement fund for 42nd District Courts and Vic Wertz surveillance projects for $170,873.
So moved by Nard.
Support Zinner.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Zinner to move the full board. Jaco?
Commissioners, as you probably remember, in I think December of last year, I came to this board with surveillance cameras that we wanted to purchase for the Vic Wertz building. At that point in time, you asked us to go back and do a bid for that and not use the current vendor that we necessarily use the current vendor, but do it through a bidding process. We did that and got a lowest bidder. Yeah, at that point in time, I think it was around about $49,000. But this year, we also have two other entities on the capital budget that need surveillance equipment. One of them is Romeo Court, which we are replacing an old system where most of the stuff doesn't work anymore. And then also the other one is New Baltimore District Court. So it is for both those two district courts as well as the Vic Wertz building on M59.
Thank you. Commissioner Matusik.
Hi, Jaco. When you look at the bid tabs, Motor City Electric was significantly under the other ones, which always makes me really suspicious. We're confident they're going to do a good job. They come highly recommended. It's just the difference in the prices here is pretty astounding.
Motor City is actually the company that has done pretty much all the surveillance work over the past 5-6 years in the county. So they are very familiar with our environment and everything that we have. So we were very happy that the bids came in low.
Great. Well, thank you for bidding this.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Same question as I had the last time, and it may be in here if I missed it. On our 5-year capital plan, was this included last year?
It was included in last year's capital plan, but it was not included. I'm talking just about the Vic Wertz portion. Was not included in this year because it was December and the budgets were already set, so we didn't include it in this year's budget. There's a budget item, I think, for $163,000 for the two district courts that is in this year's budget. So the difference is about $7,000 between the 163 and 171,000, maybe 8,000.
Okay. The reason I ask is we get these 5-year projections, and I know that they change dramatically by the time you hit the 5th year. But I'm noticing that not in the 5th year, but like in the actual year we're in, they're changing rapidly during the year. A county our size, I think that probably can't be helped. But it is something that I like to track and keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. No other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. That concludes the Internal Services section of the meeting. I'll turn the gavel over to Commissioner Haw, who's the chair of the Government Oversight Committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Van Sickle. I hope my meeting can go as rapidly as yours, although I doubt it. First item on the Government Oversight Committee agenda is item 7, Budget Amendment, Corporate Counsel, Assisted Corporation Counsel position dedicated to community mental health. Mr. John.
Motion to recommend the full board.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Kraft, supported by Commissioner Nard. It's all yours, John.
If I knew how you were going to vote, I might not talk very much. For the last 7 years at budget time, I've come before you, and I've not asked for anything else, anything more than what we had the year before. In fact, for the last 2 years, I've been holding on to a part-time secretarial position, which is unfunded. It's on my books, but it's unfunded. The time is now, the time is clear, the time has come. I need another lawyer. My office is kind of like North Korea. You know that we exist, but you don't know what goes on there. Anything that you know of my office, anything that you've seen of my office is the tip of a huge iceberg. The areas of practice that we engage in routinely include administrative law, unemployment issues, Social Security issues, MIOSHA, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services issues. We do contracting, leases, license agreements. We draft them, we approve them, we negotiate them. FOIA, we're on track right now this year to respond to about 1,000 different FOIA requests. And FOIA is not, unfortunately, a piece of paper. Some of those FOIAs, in fact, too many of them, are boxes of documents. And they must be more than just copied. They have to be redacted, and that is excruciatingly time-consuming. We deal in the regulatory law, Michigan Department of Civil Rights and EEOC, two of our best friends in the world. That was sarcastic, by the way. Labor and employment law, MERC actions, ULPs, unfair labor practices, collective bargaining issues, labor grievances, labor arbitrations, labor litigation arising under the L.A. Larson Civil Rights Act, Title VII, the ADA, the FEMLA, Fair Labor Market Standards Act, Wage and Hour Act. We operate in probate matters, believe it or not. Tax, collections and foreclosures, a huge part of our business. Real estate matters, property acquisition, property disposal, foreclosures, and collections. Real estate is a huge part of our business. We also run the share of sales, foreclosure actions. We are involved in all election matters, election law. That includes ballot initiatives, approving language, drafting language, recalls, recounts. We operate well within insurance law every day. Treasury matters, bankruptcy court, vital records, collections, CPL appeals. We do all of those. The statute is wonderful. The state gets to deny. We have to deal with the lawsuit that arises from the denial. Law enforcement functions, monster part of our job. Not just street enforcement functions, but the jail itself. Infrastructure liability, roads, buildings, abandonment of rights of way. Macomb Orchard Trail is a surprisingly big part of our business. Civil rights matters. We defend those who violate your civil rights. It's unpopular, but that is the function of defense counsel. Civil rights under state law, L.A. Larson, and under federal law, 42 U.S.C. 1983, and the federal Constitution. Domestic relations, believe it or not, we are involved in divorce actions and divisibility of pensions. called Edrose. Domestic related, animal shelter. We do animal shelter stuff, animal law. In fact, after 1.5 years of very hard work, just last week, we are responsible for a $198,000 windfall going to our animal shelter. We also act as primary legal advisor to all executive and all but one of the countywide elected official departments. The courts we operate in. Last year you heard from the prosecutor how they operate in all the district courts and the circuit court here in our county. So do we. We also operate in Wayne Circuit Court, believe it or not, Oakland Circuit Court, and St. Clair County Circuit Court. The county can be named, and our employees can be named as co-defendants in cases in those far-flung case courts. We currently have one in Oakland County right now that I'm handling. We also operate in the state appellate system, Michigan Court of Appeals, Michigan Supreme Court, and the federal court system. I love the federal court system. We do more in federal court than we do in state court. The United States District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan and all of its various courtrooms in Detroit, Port Huron, Ann Arbor, Flint, and Bay City. And currently we have cases pending in every one of those courts. We also operate in the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati and the United States Supreme Court. I've been admitted to practice before the Supreme Court since 1992. We currently have an amicus brief pending in support of Scott County, Tennessee, and their petition for Supreme Court review in the Sixth Circuit's recent, and I think fairly devastating, Bronner versus Scott County decision. We do all this with 5 attorneys and 3 support people. By comparison, Oakland does it with 16 attorneys. Wayne County does it with 38 attorneys. I have 5. Supporting CMH is a vital, vital function. The business they do is extremely specialized. I had an attorney, Jill Smith, who had the skill set. Jill retired. I replaced her with Erin Thomas, who I stole from Wayne County, by the way. Erin came with the skill set. Unfortunately, Oakland County stole Erin from me just a few months ago. He's now their deputy corporation counsel. He's a great guy, and that is a tremendous step up for him, and I couldn't be happier. He thinks he's done with us, but he's not. We include him on all of our birthday party emails and all the little joke emails going around, and he responds very well. I lost Erin. I don't have somebody with a skill set. We've been doing catch as catch can, and it is starting to fray. What we had as an office standard of same day or next day response has now become next week, maybe next month, because we're overwhelmed with work and we are trying to service CMH. We have a great opportunity. CMH will fund this position. They will fund this position out of their Medicaid, I always get it backwards, out of the Medicaid money. This is a permissible expenditure of Medicaid funds, which all come from the federal government through the state government down to CMH in astounding quantities of cash. Each grant providing a certain percentage allowable for administrative costs, which would include legal counsel. So CMH would be funding this from an outside source of money outside of the county, so it is net zero to the county. I'm asking for $70,800 to fund this position beginning August through December, and then in years forward it'll just be incorporated into my ordinary budget submission. Be happy to answer any of your questions.
That was a long dissertation, John. Very long.
It wasn't an hour and 40 minutes.
Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, John. I think John listed all those things off to prove how difficult and complicated CMH can be, because there's a list of all these things that they're doing, but CMH needs one specifically for CMH, so I appreciate that. I do want to thank you and your team, especially Erin Thomas. He was fantastic, and then he left, and we were all left. So I can't support this enough. We will stop pestering you as often. Because John has sort of taken over the reins for Erin when Erin left. And all the things we're doing in CMH right now, a lot of pilot programs, a lot of complications, a lot of contracts, and they're not 2-page contracts.
No, they're not.
50, 100, beyond. So, John, I can't thank you enough for bringing this forward, and for you and your team for the work that you have done in Aaron's absence the last few months. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you,
Mr.
much.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
I also support the position, and even understanding the funding, even if it wasn't that way, we always get a good bang for our buck out of your department. I wish our own attorney, we got the same bang for our buck that we do with you guys. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Glad to hear that, because in September I'm going to ask for another one.
I think that we do better, and when we contract out, we pay significantly to do that. So we always do well with your department on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Zinner.
I was going to, thank you, Chair. I was going to ask you if you get any feedback on how the person does, but forgetting that we have these two commissioners here that are close to all this.
My office is small. It's small enough that I can easily practice management by walking around. And every day I spend time with every attorney in the office. We have morning meetings, very impromptu afternoon meetings. I pretty much have my thumb on what's going on. I know if they're doing their job.
Yeah,
and I do hear from department heads.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I just want to make sure this is not to replace the attorney that went to Oakland. This is an additional attorney.
This is an additional.
How are you doing in the job search for the person who left?
I have just 2 months ago hired a replacement for the other functions that Aaron also completed.
Okay.
Jim Serwick, who I stole from Wayne County, of course.
I'm glad to hear we're up to full.
We're up to a full complement right now, but quite frankly, I was shocked that with the pandemic, our work did not go down. It started spiking, and it has not slowed down since.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and I definitely appreciate the endorsement from our CMH chairperson on this issue. That brings a lot of insight to it. Maya, Commissioner Zong.
Thank you, Chair. So this is fully funded by Medicaid.
Yes.
Is that correct? How do we get Medicaid to pay for more personnel?
My charming personality. Steve can speak to it, but basically the county, through Steve's office, will be billing CMH, and CMH will be reimbursing the county for the cost.
Okay.
It's not paid directly by Medicaid. It's being paid from the Medicaid funds, from that big pool of cash.
Because they don't, often they don't pay out very much, right? So this 70,800, like that's sufficient enough for the time that you mentioned.
Yes, that'll get us through this year, and then in September I'll be back, and it'll just be incorporated into my ordinary budget. But at that time, I'm also going to be asking for another one.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is appointment interviews. I will take them individually. First one is 8A, Veterans Affairs Commission, Board appointment, 1 vacancy, 4-year term to expire July 31st, 2026. Joel Rutherford, reappointment. Motion, please.
So moved by Nard.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Song. Mr. Rutherford.
Good afternoon.
You have the floor for a short period of time.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Joel Rutherford. I'm a resident of Warren, Michigan. I was honored in September of 2020 to be appointed to the Veterans Service Committee. It's an outstanding team that's led by Pat Daniel, that all of you know, and also our director, Laura Rios. We've got a great team, and we've done some outstanding things. The one thing that I'm really happy about is the focus is on the veterans. That's something that we've done. We've helped, keep people from being evicted, to keep their lights on, to keep the heat on in the winter. It's been a great team. We've worked together well, And I think all of you know that it was selected as the best veteran service agency in the state of Michigan. But I'm someone that believes you don't rest on your laurels. You know, you continue there, you continue to improve the process, and I'd be glad to work with every one of you so that we could do more outreach than what we have done to connect with veterans, because I think too oftentimes veterans' pride gets in the way of what their needs are. And I think their needs need to be met, and I know with the team that we have, we'd certainly do that. So thank you very much, and I look forward to being reappointed.
Well, I want to say, Joel, thank you, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Two things. The first is when Joel's on a mission, he's rather aggressive about it, and so we get the benefit of that. Thank you very much. Pretty much in everything that you do, it's always for the betterment of our county, and we're lucky to have you willing to serve.
Thank you.
Just for the commission, historically, the appointment interviews have just been interviews. There's been no motion. We've just done interviews, and they've just been on full board. If we're changing that, I'm fine with that. Just letting everybody know.
Well, there was a recommendation, I believe, by Commissioner Matuzak that we do have the individuals, whenever possible, attend and give a short dissertation on their roles. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing that suggestion I had. I do appreciate hearing from people before we make a final approval at the board.
Well, we haven't heard Leon speak yet, but okay. Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to echo my fellow commissioners. Thank you so much for your service, and you know, we're very lucky to have you. And just want to point out that Joel is in my district. So, thank you, Joel.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair.
Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Next is Art Institute Authority Executive Appointment with Board Concurrence. One vacancy, 2-year midterm to expire April 30th, 2023. Jennifer Lehner.
Lair.
Well, I was close.
Close. I know the H kind of throws, the HR kind of throws people a little bit.
Wait, a motion to refer to full board, please.
So moved.
Support.
Commissioner Wallace, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. Now you have.
Good afternoon. Proud Macomb resident for all of 5 years of my life. I blame that on my husband, but that's okay because I converted him and brought him here to Macomb. I have been a elementary arts specialist for 25 plus years. I love my job. I love introducing children to art, to creativity, to problem-solving skills, and all those types of things. We actually, in Utica schools, we actually have a partnership with the Detroit Institute of Arts, where every 5th grader does take a trip to the Detroit Institute of Arts. It's part of their social studies curriculum, where we go into the Native American exhibit, but then they do have an opportunity to go through the rest of the Art Institute, which is amazing, and they have so much fun, and they get so excited, and they talk about it afterwards. So this is something that I'm very passionate about. I love, like I said, introducing these children into these different things that most of them would probably never have any type of experience. So any opportunity I have to help others experience that, I think it is just absolutely amazing and wonderful.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Commissioner Chair Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for willing to serve on this important body. Have you had any work with the DIA in your role as an art teacher?
Like I said, so when we initially started this program with our 5th graders, actually I think it's 3 different opportunities that Utica Community School students have. The first opportunity is in 5th grade, which we were a part of, or I was a part of our entire department in those early stages, developing how we were going to go about this, how we would do the field trip, that sort of thing. And then I think they have another opportunity in 9th grade, and then perhaps in 11th grade again. So like I said, we're kind of that first opportunity. But I had a little bit of experience when we first initially started the program. We went to the DIA and worked with some of the docents there.
What do you envision? You're a representative of Macomb County. You're the Macomb County's eyes and ears on the operation of the authority, and right now there's a service agreement being negotiated between all the counties right now and the DIA about providing services to Macomb County. Do you have any thoughts on directions on that at all? Have you considered that prior to being appointed?
Not really. Like I said, this kind of was kind of new to me. I was approached to take this position, so I'm still kind of new to this. Yeah. I mean, I guess I would love to. I would love to have every. I think the younger we can get people, children, individuals, the earlier we can get them, I think the more interest we would have in that. Because I think, like I said, a lot of my students personally are like, I had no idea what that was, and I have the Diego Rivera poster on my door, and then when they come back, they don't realize how big that painting is. So like I said, I think the earlier we can get the interest, I think the more we can kind of continue that as we age, as we go on.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate your passion, and we're lucky to have you stepping up. Thank you very much. And with respect to Chair Brown's questions, I'm sure there will be folks filling you in on all of that. The DIA board typically wasn't just made up of members of the general population, and we didn't have representation in Macomb because the types of people that were on the board were on for the things that they could do for the DIA, and we didn't have those folks in Macomb County. So we were pushing hard to get more representation out of Macomb County. So that's where you guys come in, and I'm just really happy that you're stepping up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Fellow Macomb Township resident here. My only question is in regards to the curriculum, you being an elementary teacher, can you enact the DIA into your curriculum?
Absolutely. So like I said, so our fifth graders, it's part of their Native American curriculum, but then in the art room, when they come to see me, I take whatever I can. We also do, I'm always using different artists, so there's always ways that I'm bringing, we're gonna study Andy Warhol, we're gonna study Monet, we're gonna study, and I will tell my kids, hey, we have this at the Detroit Institute of Arts. It's, a quick drive downtown, and you can see some of this work in there. So absolutely, there's plenty of ways that it can be incorporated into the curriculum, for sure.
Great. So I know you're with Utica Schools. What about other local school districts? Are they aware of that? Are they doing anything like that?
Honestly, I don't know for certain. And that's what I was saying. I would love if there was some way that we could get other districts on board with what we are doing, because I think it is wonderful and amazing. And I'm very, very thankful that we were able to be doing this. And I'm trying to remember how long we've been doing it. It's been at least, I'm going to say, better part of 6 years that we've been doing this. Obviously, the last 2 years we haven't been able to take the actual field trip, but right. Previously we've been able to, like I said, all the fifth graders load them up on the bus, and we go down there and do the field trip, and it's amazing, just so fun.
Great. If you can get that information to us, I know I'm sure our board will circulate that, and we can spread the word, because that's great information.
Yeah, I'll reach out and see what I can find out.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next is Art Institute Authority Board Chair appointment, one vacancy, 2-year term to expire April 30th, 2024. Former County Commissioner, now current Macomb County Treasurer, Leon
Township Treasurer. To move this to full board.
Who said that?
I did.
Oh. We have a motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Zinner. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to potentially serve on the authority. I believe that the DIA has transformed in the last number of years in a broadly popular, good direction. I think there was a time when the DIA was for lack of a better term, a place that only art aficionados and some people would call snooty, would go downtown and look at some exhibits that may be relevant to a small sector of the population. But I think the DIA has worked hard in the last number of years to become more relevant to a broader array of people. But I think we can do more than that. And we are now in the process of renegotiating the contract with the DIA, the Macomb Art Authority. And I think we can build on the direction the DIA has taken and do more. I think we need to look at the DIA as not just a building downtown with a bunch of art stuff in it, but a facilitator of art and bring elements of the DIA and bring elements of supporting the arts into our own communities. We have a little taste of that, where the DIA is bringing murals and some projects into our communities, but I think that taste is too small. Those are limited to about $20,000 projects that they bring back into our communities. And like Macomb Township that I currently live in, we pay $750,000 a year in art taxes to the DIA. And over the 10 years of the last millage, that's $7.5 million, and we get a $20,000 mural. I think that's a taste of what we can do if we can create a contract that brings more return directly to our communities and then lets our individual communities make decisions on how they want some of those resources expended in our communities, working with the DIA toward that end. So I think that is something that we can build on. I think that's something we can do. I think the DIA has done a good job working with our student groups and our seniors, and we need to maintain those commitments to our students and our seniors, but we also need to expand it to other people as well. Everybody's paying the tax, and the goal is to be for people to get value, for as many residents as possible to get value from what they're paying that tax. So the closer we can bring those tax dollars back home to our communities, and the more relevant we can make it to our citizens, I think that's a measure of our success. So I appreciate your consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Chair Brown.
Former Commissioner Leanne Gillette, what experience have you had with the DIA previously? I mean, you've been on the board as a representative. Can you tell us your involvement with the DIA since you left the board?
Well, my experience with the DIA has broadly been to oppose the tax. But at the same time that I, as a commissioner, I believe I was fairly fair but aggressive in challenging whether or not our residents were getting a return from that tax. And I have a number of occasions sat down with Salvador and other folks at the DIA and talked about what we can do. As a matter of fact, I believe there was a lot of the back and forth was taken very earnestly when I saw the DIA move toward different types of exhibits that weren't just when they did an exhibit showcasing Detroit automotive design, when they do an exhibit showcasing art in movies like in Star Wars, when they do the exhibit set on baseball cards. Those are the different kind of exhibits than just the Matisse exhibit that might appeal to only certain folks. And I believe I played a role in that as a commissioner, working and having conversations with the folks at the DIA and trying to broaden out to as broad a spectrum of citizens as possible. So the other role I've had is working on a project in Macomb Township to bring some of those resources back and get a mural done. And to be honest with you, it was a little bit frustrating because we in Macomb Township wanted to do more. We wanted to build on that opportunity and have a bigger presence on that project. But we are told that no, you get $20,000 and it doesn't matter if you want to raise more for that project. You can't do it. And the limitations kept hemming us in. And it seemed to me that we ended up with a very nice project, but sadly I think it could have been much better with more involvement of our local communities, have more say of the community itself. So I hope that answers your question, Chairman.
Very good. You don't have to answer my second question, which what's your vision for the future working with the DIA? So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Leanne.
Joe.
You know, it was a pleasure, so that people know he was a commissioner. I had the pleasure and the honor of serving with Mr. Jolette when he was a commissioner here before he decided to move onward and upward. But anyway, let's get back to what you said, and I want to expand on that a little bit. And I do agree with you 100%. Back in the day, the DIA, I would say to my residents, when was the last time you went downtown to the DIA? And they looked at me like 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. And in today's market, with all these new projects, and I'm going to, again, expand on those, which were the Star Wars exhibit, they did the baseball cards, they did the murals. People are starting to talk about it. People are starting to say, hey, there's a lot of stuff downtown that we're not seeing at the DIA that before who's interested in looking at a picture of Van Gogh unless you like Van Gogh paintings or the Mona Lisa or whatever else was down there. But now with these other exhibits, people are excited about it. They're talking about it. And I honestly think, Leanne, that you're going to be a plus in there because as you can see, when people start talking about things, it makes things happen. And the DIA can expand a lot better than what it has done in the past. And I see them doing it now in the future. So I will support you as being on the board.
Thank you,
Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Matuzak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Leon.
Hi.
I always feel good because I'm sitting in Leon's desk.
It's a great desk.
It's a great desk. I do appreciate the fact that you sort of poke at the DIA and got them to expand. But I have to ask in all honesty here, do you ever envision yourself telling people to vote yes on a DIA millage?
No, absolutely not. But I don't need to, because the DIA has assured us that this is the last millage moving forward, and that they're moving to an independent. They'll be fully funded within their reserves or their fund balance after this. So no, I'm not going to tell people that their money should be taken from them and put toward art if they want it or not. But when their money is taken from them and put to art, then I will fight to make sure that as many people as possible see a return on that money. And so that's the mission here. It's not so that someday we can have a fully tax-funded arts. It's to make sure that when something is tax-funded, that people are getting the best bang for their buck that they can possibly get.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I could have answered that question. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. As you were explaining about the taxes, I think there's I'm glad to hear that Utica School District is doing so well with children being taken down there, and the seniors go down regularly. I hear about it. And I know other people go down. There are different things. And some people don't want to go to Detroit. So bringing things out here at different times, I think is going to be very helpful. But you're right about the taxes. People are just not, they don't want any more tax at all. So I know you'll be careful with that or whatever, because that's really very evident. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Uh-oh.
First of all, behave when you go down there, because I know that you're going to be approved here. I was a little bit surprised to see the name, given how much fun we've had arguing with each other over some of these issues over the years. But I just want to point something out before you go, and it kind of also applies to the SMART thing. With regard to this, you're specific to how much Macomb pays and how much money was spent in Macomb. But what you forget is all the school buses that are brought down from the school districts and all of the senior centers where the buses are brought down. There's a benefit in that as well that doesn't get calculated into your calculations. And so the smart millage is kind of the same in this. We get revenue from the businesses that benefit from those employees using the lines. And where those businesses thrive, all of Macomb County thrives. I just voted to forward something for the Romeo Court in New Baltimore. That has nothing to do with my district, but I recognize it's a benefit, generally speaking. So I just want you to keep that in mind when you're creating your numbers, because I don't know if they're going to come back again. If they start funding themselves, what I also don't know is are all of these field trips going to come to an end? Because my understanding is the school districts aren't even paying for the buses. The DIA does that. And I don't want those learning experiences to come to an end. So I know what you're going to do, and I'm just asking you to think about this.
Commissioner, I would point out that the term might, if I'm appointed, the term will end well before the tax will end. So this is what a 4-year term, I believe it is, a 2-year term, and the tax is a 10-year tax. So odds are I won't be on the authority by the time the issue is made, a decision is made. But if again, my challenge is to get as much value for a broad a collection of citizens as possible.
Yeah, and I wasn't speaking specifically with regard to the tax. I would never think I'm going to change your opinion on that. I was speaking with respect to when you're calculating how much we benefit, that you also calculate people that are brought down there to the DIA, not just things that happen up here. Although I am absolutely happy that you're advocating that we figure out more avenues to do that.
So well, thank you for that. I agree that I don't think what we're looking for ways to, I would not support ways of cutting back on the services currently provided. The students, seniors, those sort of things are not, those are a starting point. What we have right now is a starting point. We want to build on that and broaden it. So I would agree that I would, you're right, I did not include that in the calculation. I was including just money literally brought in into public art or in a way that's publicly utilized directly within our communities. Because there is still that belief that the DIA is a building that you go to, and it kind of is unless we make it more than that. And if the taxes are coming from around a region, DIA can be a regional asset, not just a building that you go to.
And just so you all know, we spent hours on the phone with each other debating when he was here, and we developed a very close relationship, mostly through argument on the telephone. Thank you, Chair.
I have a great deal of respect for you, Commissioner. I honestly mean that.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Well, not only one Macomb Township resident, but 2 Macomb Township residents today. It doesn't get old. It doesn't get old to me here, but no, I think I honestly, back in the day, I was against the DIA authority, and I was extremely disappointed that they did come back for another millage, as many people were. But I think Leon is a perfect person for this job to represent us, because he's absolutely correct. It's a return on the investment of what our residents are paying, and that's what he's advocating for, and that's really what this authority theoretically is for Macomb County. So I think he'll be a great candidate, as well as Jennifer, and hopefully we'll have them both confirmed here tomorrow. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Zung.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for rubbing that into our face, Commissioner Sabatini. Appreciate it. I appreciate your perspective and what you shared with us today about being on this authority and really trying to bring back value to your community and Macomb County in general. You do realize that you wouldn't be in this position if it were not for the taxpayers. Mm-hmm.
That's correct, and I'd be more than happy to not be if there was no tax.
I understand that, but
yes.
I just want you to realize that you wouldn't be in this position.
That would be a wonderful
without
world.
The taxpayers.
Thank you.
As well as, as treasurer. So,
yes.
Again, I appreciate your perspective, but I'm a little hesitant in what your intentions are in being on this authority.
I appreciate that, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Again, there's no, the tax has already been decided. The issue has been decided. The taxes are being collected. The question is not whether or not there should be a tax at this point. It's what can we do to benefit the broadest array of residents in our county in a way that's conscious of the fact that not everybody who's paying this tax is not an art specialist. So we have to make this tax and the money that's being taken from folks is relevant to them, and broaden the concept of art and broaden the relevance of the DIA in a way that benefits as broad array of people as we possibly can. So my mission is no longer to stop the tax. That is a previous mission. My mission is now is to create value.
I get that.
Thank you.
And you've made your case. So I said, you know, I appreciate your perspective, and I think you will serve the taxpayers very well on this authority, given what you've shared with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no further speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-1. Commissioner Matusik voting no.
Thank you. I can honestly say that was the most lengthy dissertation we've seen on any appointment since I've been here. And Joe, you wonder why I said 3 minutes? Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2022-8565, a resolution approving language for a Macomb County public transportation millage to appear on the November 8th, 2022 ballot. Motions in order to refer to full board.
Matusik moves.
Support by Nard.
I have a motion by Commissioner Matusik, supported by Commissioner Nard. Before we get into discussion, there was an issue raised on the legality of placing this on the agenda for a second time. Corp Counsel is here, and I would like our counsel to explain why we can do this.
Thank you, Chair. The short answer is because you can. The longer answer is found in the board's own rules of procedure, and I cite specifically to Rule 7F 6D. That's 7 Foxtrot, 6 Delta. And that rule allows the board to re-entertain an issue not as a reconsideration, but essentially a do-over under two conditions. One is subjective, one is objective. Subjectively, you may take this action if there is significantly new information, significant information. Significant is the subjective. And that information was not available to you the first time you made the decision. That's the objective standard. I believe that the second ask by SMART is significantly different, not only in the terms of the millage, 5-year rather than 4-year, but the reduced mill rate, and then the total assessment over those 5 years, I believe, is just short of $500,000. No one could say that's insignificant, certainly not in my neighborhood. I believe your action would withstand any challenge. Take notes.
Don't get them started.
Because of reasons that only lawyers could love. And you probably don't want to hear it, but I got to tell you anyway. No one would have standing to challenge this action. Standing is a legal concept. It's in layman's terms, it's why is this your business? If it is your business, you have standing. If it's not your business, you don't have standing. If the police kick in my neighbor's door tonight without a warrant, I don't get to sue the police because I don't have standing to assert his rights. Here, standing would be a very serious impediment to any legal challenge because you are not assessing or imposing any tax whatsoever. A taxpayers group which may have taxpayer standing to challenge an assessment or an imposition would not have standing in this case because you're not assessing or imposing. You're putting something on the ballot, that's all. So without standing, there's no ripe issue before a court. The court could not entertain the issue because there's no tax yet until the election. Lastly, any challenge to your action would have to be based on, in some manner, you've violated your own rules of procedure. The funny thing about rules of procedure or internal policies or internal rules is that they do not provide a cause of action to others. There's no private cause of action if the board violates its own rules. And this is borne out even more by Rule 10, which allows you to vote to suspend the rules. If you have the authority to suspend the rules, how could anyone sue you for not following your rules? I believe your action is authorized under, or your proposed action is authorized under 7F6D, and I believe with a high degree of confidence that it would withstand any challenge.
Thank you. Before I move on to the commissioners, is there any of the commissioners that have a question specific to Corp Counsel?
I do.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
If that's the case, why was it that we couldn't suspend the rules for the original motion?
You could, but I think that'd be a sloppier procedure. I think that would be.
Was this further delving, because we discussed this, was this further delving into it after our discussion on this issue?
I believe this method is just a cleaner, more efficient, and more challenge-proof.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chair.
And I have asked Chairman Brown to rewrite our rules to make it perfectly clear what a majority means in moving forward. So I'm sure you're going to get an opportunity to review that as well.
Yeah, since I actually wrote the memo,
Right.
I also found a statute that also requires a majority of the elected, not the present.
If there's no other questions for Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. John, really quick. So you said there are two options in regards to the rules, one being subjective.
Well,
and what was the other one?
Think of them as elements to you taking the action. Subjectively, there has to be significantly new information. So what is significant? That's the question. That's the same as how high is high, how low is low, how hot is hot. What is significant, what is not? That's a subjective determination.
So you're saying the new significant information is the millage number changed and the length of time changed?
Yes, it's a 5-year, not a 4-year. There's no escalators during the 5. The entire levy over the 5 years is about 500,000 less, a little bit less, I believe. I'm not a great mathematician. That's significant enough to withstand any challenge. And there's also a dynamic here. In a courtroom challenge, some judge, one person, is going to be called on the carpet to decide how high is high, how low is low. And that one person could end bus service in this entire county. And quite frankly, they're not going to do it.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions for Corp Counsel? Seeing none, thank you, John.
Thank you.
I'd like to recognize the Director of SMART, Dwight Farrell, for a short comment.
How about this? Good afternoon. First, I'd like to say on behalf of the customers of SMART, the Macomb County residents who use SMART, and those from other counties in the region who happen to use SMART to come to Macomb to work, thank you for your reconsideration of this issue. I certainly appreciate it. And also, as a point of clarification, it's $500,000 per year, $2.5 million over the next 5 years, and that's in 2022 money. So it is a significant thing to us. The other thing is, and before somebody asks, well, how can you absorb it when you said last time you couldn't? Well, I've had an opportunity to do a little more deeper diving in my time since I spoke with you. And there are some process changes that we have underway that will help us be able to accommodate this. The second thing is we intend to increase revenue by ridership. So there are two sides to the budget, the expense side, the revenue side. If we believe we can offset the revenue loss by increasing our ridership. And we certainly believe that we will be doing that by improving our product. So with that, when I was here the last time, the vision hasn't changed, the things that we're talking about hasn't changed. This is not going to slow down any of the things that we were talking about doing in terms of providing on-demand service for Macomb County. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that this body may have.
Thank you. Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. Do I get 3 minutes?
I'm not doing that to you.
It's going to be a while. So about 2:45, right before the meeting today, we had a SMART fast bus come down Gratiot. You can take it from Chesterfield down to Detroit. So fun fact, you can take it to the DIA and enjoy your art. And while I was walking in, I saw a mom with a toddler getting onto the bus. And I'm actually really happy that we get this do-over because I was gone last month at Harvard. I took the subway there several times and the bus. I took the bus and the subway from the airport to Cambridge, and it cost me $2.40. If I took Uber, it would have been about $45 with taxes. So I truly believe that we need public transportation, mass transit in our region, and I acknowledge that the current system that we have right now is flawed. It is flawed, but this is a start. And we as a board have an obligation to pass this proposal so that the voters can decide. If they want to pay this millage or not. And as a homeowner, looking at the numbers, I wouldn't be paying no more than $100 a year. That's how much we spend in filling up one of our gas tanks for one trip. So this is a no-brainer. We fund public safety. We fund public schools. We just funded a $10 million boathouse, which I can't even enjoy because I don't have a boat. I won't even be going out there. So this is a no-brainer. It's $100, and even if you don't support public transportation, support democracy, support the voters' decision to decide. And Mr. Farrell, I believe that in order for us to improve in our public transportation, it starts from the top. As a leader, I've been unable to get a hold of you. I've tried to reach out to you. The 313 number I call takes me to a voicemail and asking for extension. So I would really love to connect with you because I want to support SMART, and I would really like to know how you're going to get past this hurdle in November if we do pass this proposal today. How are you going to convince the voters? Because in my conversations, people are concerned about the trash. There's no trash receptacle at 12 Mile and Van Dyke at that bus stop. There's always trash. I've adopted that road so that I can occasionally clean it because it's always littered. There's a light pole. People have been jamming trash into that hole because there's no trash receptacle. So how do we get those services? How do we improve SMART? I want to work with you and SMART to support you, and it starts from the top. People are concerned that the buses are empty. They're concerned that they're using the buses for drug dealing. And you need to reach out to the community to break down some of these misconceptions, because I don't believe that. I rode the SMART bus and I rode public transportation, and I encourage all of my colleagues to take a ride from Chesterfield to downtown to get that experience. And before you answer my questions, I have a resident who was unable to attend today, and I promised him that I would read his statement. Commissioners, this is in our email correspondences, but for the record, I want to share this with you. Dear Macomb Commissioners, I was deeply disturbed to watch the meeting in June and see the 6-5 vote in opposition of SMART being added to the ballot in November. SMART benefits the county at large. Many in the service industry utilize this service due to high gas prices and lack of reliable transportation. It is not just the disabled and elderly, although these communities deserve the fullest consideration that value this service. Every other millage gets put in front of voters. Why is this one different? Inflation only makes the service more crucial to those who are impoverished. Quite frankly, I don't see how this is a partisan issue at all, and I am astounded that this doesn't have unanimous support to allow voters the right to decide. This defies the ideals of our democratic republic. How can some commissioners ignore the fact that ending SMART endangers hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs? How could those in opposition sleep at night? Please consider adding this back. David Metzler, Warren, Michigan. Thank you, Chair.
Now, to answer your question, I will make sure that you or any other commissioner are able to contact me. That part I can address right now. As far as the issues as it relates to trash at the location you were talking about, we will address that. One of the things I want to make clear, I've been in this business a long time, and so the buck stops with me. I wish that I could take responsibility and say that I can fix everything that was wrong with SMART that happened before I got here. I cannot. However, the issues that you have pointed out, I understand and we are working to address. We just awarded a contract since I've been here for almost $2 million to upgrade bus washers in our facilities so the buses can be clean. We are 80 bus operators short. We have retained a firm to help us recruit to hire bus operators, cleaners, and mechanics so that we can ensure that, because those cleaners are the ones who go out to these locations and clean up and pick up trash and that sort of thing. We're about to award a contract for enhanced shelter maintenance and repair. One of the things that SMART has done, unfortunately, is SMART has tried to do too much with too little. By that I mean too many tasks with too little people. There are opportunities out there for contracting for businesses in Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne counties that can help us with some of those things. And that's how we're going to address them. So one of the other commitments that I'm going to make, and I'm going to borrow this from a past life, not only do I intend to come back to here, not just when there's an ask, but to come back here on a regular basis to tell you how we are doing. So this will not be the last time that you see me. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow, but I'm also, my commitment to this body is 3 to 4 times a year to come back to let you know how we're doing in ridership, how we're doing overall in terms of our performance, and how we're progressing on these things. And so that's my commitment to you. That's my commitment to this county, that's my commitment to Wayne County, and my commitment to Oakland County. So as I talked to you before, transparency and accountability is part of what we're going to do. You just held me accountable for not being able to get in touch with me. I will address that. And from a transparency point of view, part of what we're going to be doing as we move through this process, we're developing a strategic plan, and we're going to put our report card out there for anybody to see it, to see how reliable or unreliable we are and where ridership is. Now, I also, when I first walked in here, there was a conversation being had where one of your staff members was asking for, I believe, $70,000 for design to reallocate space because people are working from home. That has a significant impact on SMART's ridership when a lot of our ridership used to be from suburbs into downtown Detroit. If you look at the businesses down there, have any of you been to the Renaissance Center? Yep. It looks like one of those post-apocalyptic movies. Not that it looks run down, there's just nobody there because people are working from home. At SMART, we are still working from home, and in fact, we are looking at doing some of the same things that the young lady was talking about earlier here. Because if we don't, we will be even shorter employees. So having said that, our commitment to you as an organization, my commitment to you as the general manager, is that we're going to be better, period. And as I mentioned before, contrary to what some people may think by just looking at me, I am a fiscal conservative. I do not like to see my money wasted. One of the other things that we're also going to do is come back to this body and the other elected officials in this region to show tangibly what our economic impact is on this region. It's more than just ridership. These people who take our bus to go to work, businesses depend on us. But we haven't quantified that, but we will. So I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, right, left, middle, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, SMART helps drive this region. The better we are, the more jobs we can help create and jobs we can attract to this region, period. Any other questions?
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir. Bring it.
I just want to follow up on 2 points that Commissioner Song raised. The last time, not the young lady over there was here, but the guy, I gave him a message to have you call me, and I never got a call.
So first of all, let me say this, and I don't usually make excuses, but I'll put it out here. The last time this happened, the reason why I wasn't here, I have one sibling who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, who's in Dallas. I have one nephew. She has no other relatives other than me. And so there have been times when I have been seeing about that. And so I have not been able to respond. I was supposed to be in Dallas with her with chemo treatments today. The board chair asked me to be here, and I'm here. I don't know how much more of a commitment that I can make.
Well, thank you for that. And secondly, the issue of the trash around the area. What we did in Roseville in front of the ex-Sears Macomb Mall is we put the city's receptacles out there, and we maintained them, and we tried to contact SMART to come in and take over what the city is paying our municipal employees to do, and they said they couldn't do it. Well, so I'm glad that's one thing you're looking at.
Because I had this conversation with the mayor in Wayne County about something similar. We may not have the staffing for it, and the cities might, but I don't see any reason why we can't work out something where we can't help pay for it.
I agree. And
so
I'm sure the city will agree.
We want to be good partners with the cities and townships in Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne County, period. And I don't think that it is fair for us to expect for a free ride. And so if the city has the resources, the cities have resources to do it, we'll negotiate with something so we can compensate them for doing it at our bus stops.
That's a big step. I'm glad to hear that. And secondly, I will follow on this statement. We are not approving a millage. We are approving it to go on the ballot.
Correct.
To be voted on.
Yes.
With that, Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Director, I have appreciated when you came before us before, and I listened to everything you said. And I like listening to you because you shoot facts out, and you just speak, I think you speak very excellently about your product, what you want to do for people. There should be no misunderstanding in what you say. I appreciate that. But I have to say that since the last board meeting we were at, I've had a lot of residents call me, contact me, and they think that SMART is too expensive for them because, well, with the economy, the inflation, cost of everything, everything's going up and nothing's necessarily coming in. Everything's bad, bad, bad. So they're looking at their, when they talk about taxes, they don't want to see even $96 on. And the taxes these taxes, even for the people that ride these things, these different rides that you have, which are, I think, a great idea, they're going to go to those people's houses too, the $96. For some people who are on very low income, they're still living in their houses. Their house is going to get that $96. For some people, it's not a problem. For many people, everything is becoming very a great burden to people. So I think that that's the problem that I'm finding from citizens contacting me. I know there are many people in many situations that need help, and they love SMART. I'm happy that SMART's been here, but I've talked to people in the leadership positions, and they think they can do it at a much lower cost within their region, which is within their areas. I don't know that they can get people across the county, but I am hopeful, if it doesn't pass, that the immediate areas can pull up something. The leaders that I've talked to said that they can pull it together for their areas, much lower cost, but they can't guarantee going through the county, as I said. However, I believe that other areas will connect with us, or most areas, and hopefully be able to meet that need. For me, it's all about what the citizens want and what they feel they can't take any more of. As I say, have a great respect for you, and we'll see how this goes with the vote. But I do appreciate everything that you say and all the work. I mean, I see the SMART buses all the time, and I say, well, they're helping people, and I'm glad for that, but there are a lot of factors to consider. And I thank you very much for coming here and being here today, and I'm sorry for what your family's going through, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Mr. Farrell. Let me start with the with that assessment that was mentioned, so that people are aware. That assessment, that $100, is based on what they call the taxable cash value of property. Unfortunately, what wasn't covered was the fact that as your assessment on your property goes up, so does that tax. And we had that situation right here in Sterling Heights on another millage issue. They forgot to mention the fact that as your assessment goes up, so does your tax. So that was one item I wanted to cover. The other one was, you went for 5 years. Why didn't you go down instead of up? Why didn't you go down to 3 years for your millage?
Well, 4 years is difficult to plan forward, and 3 years is even worse. So we went 5 years. So in large part, so we could plan and have time to address some of these issues that you and others have raised. These things take time.
Is there a plan B for SMART if this millage does not pass? Do you have a plan B?
The plan B is we shut down service to Macomb. That's plan B.
Okay. The other question I have is this. Yesterday we had something come up about money that was given to SMART from the CARES Act. Between what was given and the grant, it totaled up to about $150,000. I'm sure you're aware, if not aware of that, it was given. So my question was, why wasn't that amount added to the amount that you were going to reduce the total amount of what you needed?
The CARES Act is one-time money. That's not permanent money. That's not ongoing money. And the CARES Act money was given to transit systems in particular because of loss of ridership and loss of revenue from sales tax and other issues. So, but that's one-time money that the federal government allowed us to use for operating purposes. That's not ongoing money. We don't get CARES Act money every year. The money that we do get, we still have to compete to buy buses and make other upgrades. The days of having an elected official as powerful as some of the ones that we have here give you an earmark for $100 million for a bus facility are gone. We have 3 bus facilities, one in each county, that to replace is a $500 million project. Now, they're not going to last forever, and there's only so much money that you can get from the federal government. I just use this as an example. So the CARES Act money is, again, one-time money. It doesn't come every year. And so we've used that to plug the gap to continue to be able to pay employees and put service out because of the lost revenue from ridership.
Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I can say, based on Mr. Farrell's Plan B that he spoke to us last time, saying it's just shutting it down, I have talked to our city manager and the Roseville East Point administrator for our SMART program and told them they better start looking at a Plan B very quickly. If this goes down on the ballot, you're not going to have a lengthy period of time where you have seniors and veterans and people's going to the doctors sitting around not being able to get transportation. So I would recommend we all do that.
Thank you, Chair, but I also want you aware of the fact that we have a senior facility that has buses that do take seniors and people that need doctor's appointments. They take them shopping. Sterling Heights does have that facility available today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Matuzak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you again. Once again, I am happy to vote to put this on the ballot, and I will work very hard to see that it passes. This is SMART is important to all of our communities. But what I wanted to piggyback on something that you said. SMART is very important, and something that my colleague just said. Very important for seniors, allowing them to stay in their homes longer. It's very important for folks with physical and mental disabilities to have some independence. But SMART is really economic development. I mean, we talked earlier about the workers who are being able to work from home. Well, the people who can't work from home are low-wage workers. They're the folks that are in the nursing homes. They're the folks that are at Martha T. Berry. They are the folks that work in restaurants that we all frequent. I mean, most of us here are pretty blessed to be able to have a decent standard of living that allows us to go out to eat occasionally and to have a car and to have a house. The people who, for the most part, are utilizing SMART to get to work, our employers are dependent upon SMART. This is about business development. This is about economic development. This is about supporting our small businesses and about getting people to work. And we all tend to think about the seniors going to the grocery store, and that's extremely important and a very important function that SMART provides. But it's jobs, people getting to work and employers finding people to work. And I think that's what's really critical about this. And we need to expand how we think about SMART. And I think it's really important the direction you're moving to about basically rides on demand, because that makes it much easier if you work the swing shift to get to work and to get home. If you work odd restaurant hours, which is what happens to most people who work in restaurants. So I think of this far more as jobs and economic development and supporting our small businesses. I think that's what's really critical about this. And I am fully in support, as I said, both of placing it on the ballot and working to see that it passes, because it's important to all of our communities. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. You know, Commissioner Romano makes a good point in regards to taxable value increases. I just read an article in the paper how many people have been receiving their tax bills and have been shocked just because their taxable value has skyrocketed. We're all happy that our property values are going up, but the other part of that is if your taxable value is going up, then your taxes are going up. One of the questions, and I was the one that asked the question in regards to, if you're asking, and this was the previous proposal, how are you going to make this happen if you have all these challenges and you're still coming to this board and asking for less money? And you did come back today and said you're going to change your process, but you also did say today that one of the income or revenue solutions would be that you're going to increase your ridership. However, you did say that if anyone has gone to the Renaissance Center, it is like a ghost town down there because a lot of people are going and working via remote. It's no secret. Mm-hmm. We're all doing it more. And I don't know how you can increase your ridership if more people are going to be working remote. Also, in regards to the services related to SMART, a number of our neighboring communities, and I know I've gotten a lot of emails and calls about this from residents, quite honestly, of our neighboring counties saying that we need to support this. And that kind of infuriates me because this here is an all-in for Macomb. It's not an all-in for Oakland. It's not an all-in for Wayne. Yet, they want us to be all in. They took away, Auburn Hills took away their SMART contract. You can't go to Great Lakes Crossing anymore on the bus. SMART had to remove that bus stop. So there's no more service there either. So what I'm trying to say is that,
We didn't do that.
There's a...
No, we didn't.
Well, Auburn Hills no longer has
That is not correct.
an agreement. They terminated their contract with SMART.
That is not true, sir. They tried to.
Well, that's what I read in the paper. So maybe that has changed. Maybe something's different there. But quite honestly, I don't really believe that there's no more significant new information related to this proposal, in my opinion. And, we're talking about $500,000 annually. That's $2.5 million now in addition to what the previous proposal was. I don't see it. I'm still a no on this. Hopefully my colleagues have looked more into this information. We've passed more information around, and hopefully they will reconsider their vote here today.
I would like
Thank you, Chair.
Speak to an issue where you said you didn't see how because people weren't going to the Renaissance Center. Well, most of the traffic in most cities now is not AM and peak driven anyway, even before the pandemic. You think about this. Public transportation systems were built on manufacturing economies when this country was built on manufacturing economy. That is no longer the case. It's a service economy. So people's work patterns are different now. There's much more cross-county or inter-county connectivity, hence the idea about the on-demand for SMART and going to areas that we haven't done. So there are some things that we can do. Nobody, I did not say, and I want everybody to be clear, I didn't say that we were trying to go back and do what we did prior to the pandemic. That's not what I said. What I said is that we were going to increase ridership and increase revenue. And there are ways to do that, with all due respect.
How are you going to do that? If you have other communities that don't have the services, how are you going to increase ridership?
Well, first of all,
are you saying you're going to have more ridership in Macomb County, specifically?
Well, we're intending to provide on-demand service throughout Macomb County specifically, because this is the only county that's all in. And as I stated when I was here before, our intent was to expand flex service across all of Macomb County. I have not changed that.
But that's one piece of the equation. You can have more ridership if you had more people on buses than you can in cars doing smart flex service.
Well, and there's also, that's correct.
It's
but
correct.
There's also an intent to be able to increase service across Macomb County because there's crosstown service. With all due respect, Commissioner Sabatini, as I stated before, people's travel patterns are different than they were. I can tell you, as somebody who drove a bus starting 42 years ago, our service in Dallas was just like it is most every place else, AM and PM peak driven. Lots of buses in the morning going downtown, lots of buses in the afternoon. And suburbs were not like they were. Every city that I've worked in has had sprawl. This region is no different. And now there are more people who are going and traveling within their cities or within their counties. And so we won't do it with 40-foot buses, but we'll do it with 35-foot buses. So I hate to say you'll have to trust me on this, but I've got 42 years in this business. I have been through the worst economic time that there is, 2008, 2009, 2010. And what I'm saying to you is this organization can do and will do better. And there are a whole host of things that we're going to do to offset that $500,000. I don't know if I mentioned this when I was here before, but I'll mention it now. In a past life, I retained a consulting firm, KPMG, to come into an organization, and I said, look at us like you would look at any $500 million a year organization and tell us how we can be better. And one of the things that the gentleman said to me that stuck with me is he says, Dwight, you're trying to use business practices to meet the public motive. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can't run transit like a business because it's never going to be profitable in that sense. But one of the things that helps drive property values up is public transportation. You look at those areas that don't have good public transportation, they're not able to generate jobs, and their property values don't go up. So SMART is much more than just ridership. I state that, and I said that again. It is much more than that. And that's the part that people don't seem to understand. In this region, like a lot of regions, if you don't invest in transit, your region does not grow, period.
I'm done, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Commissioner Wallace.
Wow, I hate to come after that. So I'll keep this short because Commissioner Matuzak and Commissioner Song pretty much took everything off my list, so I'm thankful for that. But when I first was elected in this seat, I was able to go to Smart Terminal on 15 Mile. And during that time, because we spoke on the CARES Act money, I was able to see the windshields that needed to go up. I was able to see how many times the buses had to be cleaned out, which is a whole nother person or people that needed to come in and be paid for the jobs that they were doing. So we understand that the CARES Act money needed to go to that specific area. So I'm not questioning that at all. I do agree that there are, we keep mentioning our seniors that are using SMART to go to doctors, to grocery stores, and I understand Sterling Heights has that, and many other areas can maybe learn from that don't have it right now, including Mount Clemens, who I represent. SMART is, I can't say it enough, important to my district. So I am a voice for my district, and I will continue to fight for SMART because that's what we need. And it's not just in my district, and even, some of the commissioners say many of their residents don't use it, but many do. Maybe they're not in your backyard, but I understand that. Mount Clemens would need to do a Plan B, emergency Plan B, if this does not pass, which is something I'm not 100% sure that we have dove into like we needed to. So I do like the idea of the on-demand service. I think that is something that could not only be used by our seniors, but even by our youth. We have, in Clinton Township and Mount Clemens, a lot of our youth use the SMART bus. Together after school, they just go straight to the bus stop. They go to the mall still. They go wherever. They're always going straight from school onto the bus and, just going wherever they can. So it's not just our seniors. It's not just our working class. But speaking of the working class, during COVID, when we were locked in, there were workers that still had to get to work. Those workers are the ones that we are talking about now. Those workers that we depended on to bag our groceries, to make sure the grocery stores were open, to make sure areas were cleaned, and they were vital to us getting through COVID. Those are the workers that we need to look at still today, because when we couldn't do something without them, they showed up to work getting sick, because we needed the groceries, we needed them, and they showed up. So I understand the taxes. I mean, I fought over what was it, $5 a year or whatever it was. But I feel like right now is the time for us to, again, think about a group of people that are often not thought about. I'm not here to argue with anyone. I'm not here to do any of that. I am here to speak for the people that I need to be a voice for. So I think that we need to consider our waitresses, those that are at the restaurants that were still bagging our food when we went to pick it up and couldn't get into the restaurant. We need to think about those that helped us with make sure the grocery stores were open, because those are the ones that we will definitely make sure they continue to get a ride to work. And again, without them getting to work, they lose their job. So then again, you're waiting in the grocery store for hours complaining because there's not enough workers, and we'll know why, because they didn't have a ride. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you. And there's no need to respond here as well. I have to tell you, nothing that you have said today is going to change a single vote up here. There's only been one vote up here that's changed, and it did not change in your favor. And there are not going to be any other votes here that change. There are a few new votes, which is why it's being reconsidered. A few things. The first is, it's going to pass, is my opinion, and it's going to pass hanging on by the fingernails. Just barely. It just barely passed last time with the voters, and I think that you've got that hill to climb as well. I would suggest that you possibly partner with communities, specifically communities going like up Gratiot. They can't advocate, but they can disseminate information. And that is an avenue that you can disseminate information that's not at a significant cost. But this is something that you're going to have to work hard to educate. And Commissioner Matuzak put it the best, and then Commissioner Wallace spoke to it as well, and so did Commissioner Zong, which is the economic driving aspect of this. And if you shut down all of those restaurants, or you start shutting down CVS's and things like that, where a lot of the workers use these, it could be financially catastrophic. I don't think you use a scare tactic, but I think you need to take a good look at how you're going to promote it. I recognize the significance of this and how important it is. I also know that historically, the major metropolitan areas that had the more advanced mass transit are the ones that thrived, and the ones that have struggled are the ones that didn't do it. We are one of those regions that didn't do it. We didn't put in a subway system. We didn't develop the type of mass transit that some of the ones that just boomed did. So I recognize the importance of this. I would suggest that you partner with the communities to disseminate information, because I think it's very important. That's all I have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Farrington.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a couple things. I think we all received letters from those in the community supporting SMART. When I looked through them, it reminded me of this whole discussion. Of those, only one letter out of all of them came from a district that is going to vote no. So it really shows the disparity between the users and the payers. One part of the community uses it, the other part pays for the majority of it. And that's why it is such a significant controversy. I understand those districts that need it, want it, use it, and the commissioners voting for it. What I won't understand is any commissioner, and Commissioner Sabatini brought a map of the votes of the individual communities. I don't understand any commissioner that's going to vote yes when their community went so hard no, and that's what I'll be looking for. And as for the Auburn Hills, I looked it up since we've had time. Auburn Hills opted out February of this year. But through a technicality, the Oakland County Public Transportation Authority said, oh, sorry, you missed the deadline. And it reminds me of what's going on here, and it's cheap politics. We're saying that a 1% change in the millage is significant. I think that's ludicrous, and I think no one other than an attorney could ever make that argument. You get a room of 100 people, no one will say a 1% change is significant. So where Auburn Hills couldn't get what they wanted for their voters because of a technicality, it looks like we won't get what many of us want due to a technicality here. And I think that's a little shameful. So I just wanted that on the record. Thank you.
Commissioner Nard.
Hi.
Hi.
I felt compelled to speak because as Vice Chair of SIMCOG's Traffic and Safety Division, we speak about mobility and transportation. And we had a meeting, our last SIMCOG General Assembly, a gentleman came in and he spoke about growing a region, growing an economy, and transit, public transit was key. That was one of the top 3 things to drive a community. Macomb, as the 3rd largest county in Michigan, needs mobility and transportation if we want other businesses to come here. We want to make Macomb our home. We're going to have to have public transit. Not everybody that lives in Macomb is probably going to ride the SMART, but they're going to come here to work. If we want these businesses to come and put their companies here, their headquarters here, we're going to have mobility. And if you don't believe it, you can go to simcog.org and check it out. They do research on that. So I'm hoping that this passes, and I'm hoping that the citizens pass this. Not, I understand about the tax. I understand about that. But in the long run, that tax is going to be, I don't even know what type of word I can use, but it's going to be satisfied by the business that's going to come here and the growth. And I've heard everything about the past, when the people took care of us during the pandemic, but we need to also think about our future, the future of our kids, okay, and where this industry is going. We want these battery plants to come here. They're trying to take them and move them to Tennessee. So, and Macomb, I wanted to come to Macomb. They've even asked us as members, as delegates, I'm on the executive committee, they asked us to go out and talk to people and say, hey, look, let's bring in some mobility, bring in something to draw these people here. And if we don't, we're going to lose, and it's going to be dark for us. So I'm hoping that we as a county come together and understand that maybe you don't need it necessarily. Maybe it's like Commissioner Wallace said, maybe it's not in your backyard, but there's somebody that's coming from the south end of Warren to go all the way up to your community to go to work. And by the way, my sister lives in Flint, and I pick her up at Great Lakes Crossing. And sometimes she'll take the SMART bus, and I'll get her at the SMART stop in Madison Heights. So we need SMART. So I support this 100%.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair Brown.
Thank you. And I respect people's views on this, and Mr. Farrell's getting at your understanding why that vote last time was so close. 33 votes last time passed that millage. And the old SMART should have been voted down because it didn't work to satisfy the most of these people in this county. But when you and I sat down for the first time we met, talking about bringing this before us, you said, the old SMART's dead. The old SMART's dead. What you've got is a hangover from old SMART. Big line haul buses driving around half empty, or maybe more than that. And the average person that was paying the bill never used it. They wouldn't dare put their family on the buses for a variety of reasons. What we have now, what you're proposing to do, and you got to understand, trust is lacking because of the old SMART was here so long and didn't service the needs. People like me were against it, the old SMART. But the connector service you started in this county, which I didn't really realize until you came in and told me about it, which is another problem the old SMART had with communication. It's going to give people an opportunity that my community's had for 30 years in my community. A car picks them up at the door, take them to the grocery store, and brings them back home in their own neighborhood. And we've got that because SMART partners with our own local service out there called STAR, and they're providing half the buses for free and maintenance and all the rest. But we've got it because SMART partnered with us out there to do that. Now, I understand some communities that want to have the ability to opt out and they could cut their own deal, and that's fine. I respect that. But you know what? That's not on the table today. But I want everyone in the county, because as chair of the Board of Commissioners and chair of my district, I want to make sure I'm looking out for everybody's interest. And it's not for me to tell them, no, we're going to pull SMART out from under you, and you got to figure something out. And maybe or maybe not, you'll have a bus service in 3 or 4 months once they figure out a new system, which may or may not be as expensive as they had before. We're going to let the people decide, and it's going to be your job to sell it. And I'm counting on you to sell it, because you got a good concept, you got a good product to sell if you can sell it. And then, of course, you got to implement it. And you're going to be back here, and I'll make sure you're on the calendar every quarter to give us an update how that progress is coming.
Absolutely.
But I want everyone in this county to have an opportunity, because I'm counting on the new SMART. The services are going to pick people up at their door. That's how you're going to get new ridership, Commissioner Sabatini, because more people are going to be not afraid to put their mother or their son or their daughter on a SMART transportation to get them around the neighborhood, to get them to work or wherever they got to go. I'm envisioning that to pick up. We'll see. I hope I'm right.
You're
But
right.
I'm willing to take a chance to let the voters of this county decide, trust their judgment after hearing from you, whether that's something they want to take a chance on. Because the background is mighty bleak, and I understand. I was there with them. I understand the sentiment. So we got businesses now in my community that their businesses are closed now because they don't have help to take care of it, or their hours are changed. You don't even know. You can't even go to a business to make sure they're going to be there or not, because what used to be commonly accepted hours are no longer, because they can't get workers. And some of us say we're supporting businesses around here, but how are we supporting business when we take away the ability to get some of their workers there? I mean, this gives them an opportunity it doesn't help the thing. And Macomb's all in. And Oakland County, I talked to the chairman of the Oakland County Board the other day, and he anticipates them going all in as well. And not that it has anything to do with us, but I'm just saying other people are considering using our model because they can receive some benefit from it. So I'm just counting on, and you didn't really answer Commissioner Mai's question earlier about how are you going to promote it. I mean, what's the plan? What's your budget?
Well,
because you got some suggestions, some good suggestions from Commissioner Kleinfeld earlier about ways to promote it, but you got an opportunity the whole county's got an opportunity to have something really good. Something that I know works well in my community of Washington, Shelby, and Bruce Township. My communities are happy. They got community transit buses. Says Shelby Township and Smart. Washington Township Smart. There's partnerships developed. They're working together to provide those services to their seniors, picking them up at the door and taking them where they got to go. And it shouldn't just be left to my community, which is more affluent than some other counties and communities in this county. Everyone should have that same ability, should have the same access to those services. And I want to see you do it because it's necessary and it's helpful. We're an older, graying community. We need those services. We might need it in a few years, so tell us how you're going to support it.
So to be able to respond.
Nope. You're not going to give us the whole plan.
No, absolutely not. No, sir. I've been standing up here for quite a while.
We've been sitting here for quite a while, so
I could leave.
Keep it short. Keep it short.
What I will say is that we do have dollars in the budget for an education campaign. SMART cannot advocate. We can educate. And so we do have dollars in our plan for outreach, particularly in Macomb, and I would love to work with any of the commissioners here that would provide us any particular group that we need to talk to or give information to, but that is certainly our plan. I know that there was no yes vote last time. At least that's what I was told. But that is not the case this time. And so there are some other things that I'll be happy to talk about offline that we're trying to do as it relates to the business community and gathering their support across all of these counties so that this can successfully pass and that we can make SMART be something that everyone here is proud of.
Uber smart.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. I think what's critically important is the two prior meetings we had with you, and then you coming to the commission explaining the difference between the old SMART and the new SMART philosophy and how that's going to work and the importance of it. I believe it was the young man sitting right there in the front row that made this statement last time: transportation needs doesn't stop at city boundaries. That's the most profound statement, I think, out of anything that's been said in the last hour and 20 minutes. So I congratulate you on that statement. Secondly, there was the statement made, we got what we wanted. No, we didn't get what we wanted, because if we got what I wanted, we'd still have SMART. What we got was the opportunity to vote to put it on the ballot to have the people of Macomb County tell us and you what they want. That's what's critically important here. With that, I'm going to call the vote. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-6. Commissioners Farrington, Kraft, Romano, Sabatini, Vansickle, and Zinner voting no.
Thank you. Next item is this is a good one, a proclamation in honor and acknowledgement of Andrew, who's going to help me say that? Yacobezian? Who said that? Thank you. Receiving the Boy Scout of America National Merit Award. Motion to refer to full board, please. I have a motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Zinner. Commissioner Romano, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, if I may, and sure we'll have this at tomorrow's full board, but the parents are going to show up. And Mr. Friddle, I hope your nephew or your niece, excuse me, I hope your nephew and your niece, the very best, will keep her in her prayers.
I really, really appreciate it. Her birthday was on the 5th. I'm not sure she'll have another one, but I appreciate your prayers. Thank you.
God
You're
bless
welcome.
and thank you for that, Commissioner Romano.
Thank you. I'll make it short. This Boy Scout was just had a life-saving technique given to him at one of his recent meetings that was at the Heimlich procedure. And lo and behold, they're having dinner at the home and at his home, and his mother started choking on something, and the dad and the other relatives at the house were just looking at him. This young man, and he's young, I think he was like 12, 13 years old, jumped up, grabbed Mama, and started giving her the Heimlich and pushed that food right out of her mouth. And he saved her life, because by the time the EMS got there, she was out and breathing and ready to start eating again. So I wanted to recognize him, and that's why I think this proclamation is well worth it. Thank you.
And thank you for doing that. Seeing no speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item is a proclamation in honor and acknowledgement of Madelyn Yarema, receiving the Gold Star Award from the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan. Motion, please.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
A motion by Chairman Brown, supported by Commissioner Romano. Chair, would you like to speak to this?
I'll reserve comments for tomorrow.
Thank you. Seeing no speaker, please vote.
Song votes yes.
Did I hear that over there? I heard it. Oh, you did? Okay, thank you.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Next item is a proclamation recognizing July 24th through July 30th, 2022 as American with Disabilities Act ADA Awareness Week. Motion, please.
Motion to move the full board.
Motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Sabatini. Commissioner Nard, would you like to speak to
this? Yes, just for a moment. I've been having problems with my asthma. This act was brought to my attention by Tony and his wife, Tony and Dorothy Baker. And I stood with them. They were doing a rally outside of the Warren mayor's office, just to bring, an acknowledgement about it. And I didn't know how many businesses that weren't ADA compliant, where people with wheelchairs and things couldn't even get to the business. Mr. Baker has been a great advocate of this ever since it's been inducted, and he has brought a lot of light on it for me. Even my grandchildren, when we go into a store, they'll say, "Hey, Granny, this ain't ADA compliant," because if Mr. Baker wouldn't be able to get up here because there's no curve. So it's very important. I felt really bad, and even as I stood with them with the signs out, I looked up at going into where the public library is. And I said, well, Mr. Baker, how would you get up there? So we tried to find a way for him to get there. He would have to have, anybody in a wheelchair would have to go into the street in order to get to the offices there, to our city offices in Warren. So, you know, and I don't know if maybe when they did the design, maybe, you know, the people just wasn't aware. I'm just hoping that during this time that people, you know, as they're starting their new developments, that they become aware of people that want to be mobile. Ever since I've been on the Traffic and Safety Division with SIMCOG, I've been very conscious about mobility and having everybody have a chance to get out of their homes and go places with ease. And even go to a library or go to a museum. I'm trying to make sure that all these places become ADA compliant so that all of our residents won't be sitting at home depressed because they can't go anywhere. But they'll be able to get out without any assistance and do what they need to do. I was very surprised when my niece passed that one of my cousins came up and he was driving, and he's a paraplegic. I mean, he's paralyzed from the waist down. He's been like that for a long time, and I was shocked to see him in a car, and he was able to get out of the car and have his wheelchair come around and go up into the funeral home where we were, and I was just really shocked to see him there with no assistance. But I was glad to see that that particular funeral home was ADA compliant, and I would have never even thought about that, you know, until if it hadn't have been for Tony and Dorothy Baker. So I'm hoping that, you know, we honor this and you know, and let him know that we recognize his efforts. Thank you.
Seeing no speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Next item is our second of two public participations. Anyone wish to speak on any items, any issue for a max of 3 minutes?
Everybody can hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, my name's Thomas Yazbek. I was here last month during the original ill-fated SMART vote. I'm back. I represent Transportation Riders United. We are a 501c3. We are dedicated to improving public transportation in Metro Detroit, including Macomb County. I just want to address some things that were brought up. You know, Mr. Farrell said SMART cannot necessarily advocate, but it can educate. Well, we are here to help with that. We already have an education campaign that we're doing to inform people about public transportation, why it's important, why SMART is important. In many ways, we are sort of promoting SMART for SMART because they are limited in what they can say. We want to work with communities, including Macomb County. We have lots of supporters and members in Macomb County and throughout the region. We are working with groups like Henry Ford Health, Macomb Community College. We're doing informative presentations. We're doing informative town halls where people can discuss public transit. I want to work with the members of this commission because I care deeply about public transportation. I am an Oakland County resident, so you know, you don't have to necessarily listen to what I have to say, but I do have some materials if any of the commissioners are interested to give a taste of what we do. And I just want to congratulate this board for allowing Macomb County voters to vote on this because it is a democratic decision. You know, as much as some people would like there to be opt-outs, there's a lot to be said about having the entire county be part of the smart bus system because just because the people that have the most money and the people that have the loudest voice don't want public transportation, many of the marginalized people need it. Communities like in Oakland County, there's never been a single community that's still part of SMART that has said no to it. And despite some comments that were made, Auburn Hills was not able to opt out of SMART, and most Auburn Hills residents support SMART and have always done so. That's independent of whatever the city councils can do. So I just want to say we are Transportation Riders United, DetroitTransit.org on the internet. I encourage this commission to engage with us. I encourage SMART to engage with us, municipal governments to work with us because my job is, I love public transportation in Metro Detroit. I use it. I want to use it. I live in a community that doesn't have much of it, and I want more of it. And I think there are many people in this county and in this region who want more of it. And every time something, a setback happens where we lose public transportation or it gets cut back, is my time up?
10 seconds.
So just hit me up. I got a lot of material and I want to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard?
Good afternoon again. Robert Pulowski from Southgate, Wayne County. First, I'd like to say, Thomas, thank you for those lovely words. But I'm very happy how the vote went today, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the county that do support transit are. But as myself, riding transit all across this region, including Ann Arbor, you know, transit is essential. You know, like I said in my prior comment, it's economic development, it's more jobs to the county, and it's more business. It's more businesses coming into the city. The more we promote this millage, the more, if it gets passed, we get more businesses. For example, Amazon. Amazon can start investing back in Macomb County. You know, the whole misconception with Auburn Hills, you know, there's a lot of conceptions, whether it's the news or a lot of people were not educated about it. I was at the city council meeting when they, you know, reconsidered the vote after that meeting that we had tons of people, you know, speak on it. There's a lot of misconceptions around transit, and it shouldn't be that way. Transit gets communities to thrive. It makes it thrive in Mount Clemens, it makes it thrive in Pontiac, and it makes it thrive in my hometown of Southgate. Transit is essential, not just in Metro Detroit, but Macomb County. And I really would like our commissioners in support, for example, Wallace, Young, and Nard, thank you so much for the support. You know, without you three, we wouldn't have the implementations that we have now with SMART. You know, they've done so much over the past couple years. It's absolutely insane. And I've been in every board meeting watching those things get voted on because I'm the one that brings them the ideas to make sure that our system thrives. You know, it's not just about the rider. It's about the person that goes to work downtown every morning or the person that comes from the city of Detroit into the suburbs to do their job. This is not a political battle. This is about work. This is about jobs. This is about economic development. And as a transit advocate for everybody else, and our wonderful guy over here, Thomas, and all of our organizations like True, they are the people that will promote and make sure we have support for SMART. This is critical. Let's vote yes this November for the SMART 2022 millage. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, we will close. What? Oh. Where did he come from?
Sorry.
Your turn.
My name is Brother Cunningham. I'm an activist in regards to public transit, usually DDOT, sometimes SMART. But I can recollect, my mother was RN for 30-some years, Macomb, everywhere. My brother took over, and she got real sick, so she went to the nursing home. She was at Lakeside Manor. That's next to Lakeside Mall, which used to be there. And I'm handicapped, I walk with a cane. I have herniated discs and stuff, but I don't know where I got the strength from, but every day when I found out where she was going to go see her. Every single day. And she's a straightforward person. People don't like people like that. But she's kind of solo, loving, nice woman and everything. But she was so happy to see me. My brother and sister didn't come see her, but there's people who are poor. I'm poor, and probably always will be. I supplement my income. But there's people like me that are, for 8 years, I could not get a car. I had a license, I could not get a car. But I went to go see my mother on a daily basis, and I talked to the people. That Van Dyke is crucial. People were going to work. You know what I'm saying? They're going to work. And the Bible says if a man or woman or person does not work, he does not eat. And any Republican that goes to church that would ever encourage their people to turn this down, it's pitiful. If you do not work, you do not eat. And people are trying to get to work. They worked through the pandemic. They served you. I'm not part of any organization, so I don't have to be on puppet strings. I'm saying you're wrong. And you need to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to lead you again. because people are trying to get up and go to work and not just stay on welfare. And I'm at the demographic where I talk to people like that every day. Some of you don't have anyone near you that even takes the bus. So I'm asking you to look again. Charity starts at home. Even if you do not have people to ride the bus in your personal community, there are nurses' aides, there are security guards, there, et cetera. You can just go on and on and on. Low-income workers. So I thank you for this vote today. I thank you. I like Commissioner Brown the best today. And I haven't come to these meetings in a long time. So I really appreciate you. If you want to be nosy just to see what's going on in the other areas with public transit, there's an input meeting, city council members show up, et cetera. So people take the SMART, they get on the DDOT and work in the city of Detroit. They're in the area. I did bring some flyers if you did want to go to a virtual input meeting for the connection from SMART to DDOT. I thank you for your time, Ms. Brother Cunningham, and I'm praying blessings on Farmerton, Wallace, Zinner, Romano. I can't do it. Mr. Hall, Christelle, Kraft, Zong, Sabatini, Nard, and Matuzik. Yes, God bless everybody. Thank you for your time. And hopefully they do connect with churches and organizations to pump this out. Because with Proposal P, the people put it out there, but it got smashed. So they didn't have enough money to advertise or get the stuff out there. So hopefully it does pass. Would anybody like a flyer for a virtual meeting just to be share?
Very much.
Be nosy of what's going on with DDOT, the other connecting to SMART. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Eat well.
Hey.
Stay cool.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, we would close public participation and move into commissioners' comments. Commissioner Matuzak.
After a long and somewhat stressful meeting, it's always nice to have a little kitten or puppy to hold on to. I would just like to point out that our shelter has an Empty the Shelter adoption event on Saturday from 10 till 2, and we could all have a puppy to take home. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
I got enough puppies going on right now. I got puppies all over the place. Just that we may not be the only county that's countywide when this all shakes down. So just keep an eye out on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other commissioners, next item on the agenda is closed session to discuss pending litigation, Corp Counsel. Motion to go into closed session. Motion by Commissioner Kraft, supported by Commissioner Kleinfeld.